Assalamualaikum everyone. It's been a long time since I've made my last video. I've been doing some work on ASP.NET Core MVC. The problem I've been facing was that in DB first approach I was unable to set identity, Microsoft ASP.NET identity. So I thought of making this video because in case someone is having same issues like me, he can easily build up a new application with DB first approach in ASP.NET Core along with identity. So for this tutorial, I'm gonna create a new project and keep it as empty and as simple as possible from the very start. So let's start. And as I'm continuing, I'm gonna let you know that I will be doing some kind of cheating. As you can see, I've opened multiple tabs for of Visual Studio. Uh, I will copy some things and I will tell you what these specific line of codes are supposed to do. So in case you are having any issues, you can relate to that with these lines of code. First of all, we need to select a template. Now, of course, for our tutorial purpose, we are gonna need to select ASP.NET Core Web Application. So here it goes. Web application. Let me rename it to Identity Setup DB first. You can name it anything, but I prefer it like this. So let's create it. So you can see I'm using .NET Core and I will be using .NET Core 5, latest version of .NET, which is .NET 5. ASP.NET Core Web API model view controller. Obviously, we are gonna use it because I need model view and controller. Configure for HTTPS. Yes, you can leave it as it is. And for authentication, now this is important. Now authentication means that for now, our project would not have identity. If I change this to individual user accounts, then it will include identity. But for demo purpose and for specifically for this video, I'm gonna leave it to as it is to no authentication. And this is the option which I'm going to check. You can leave it unchecked, but the benefit it's gonna provide is that whenever you do something in your Razor page or in view of your page, and when you refresh it, you will see the changes immediately after that. But in case you haven't checked this box, then you have to recompile your complete project to see the view working. I hope you get my point. So I'm gonna check it and then we are gonna create the project. So it's very simple. I think everyone who is watching this video must have a concept of ASP.NET Core that it's very different. I think it's very different from ASP.NET MVC. You can see we are gonna inject multiple things in startup files. Services will be injected here, and app.using, all these things will be mentioned here. So first of all, I think what we need to do is we're gonna connect our DB. So I have this database, I have this SQL server name. You can name it anything. Connected for demo purpose. I'm gonna create a new database so I can show you how I'm gonna scaffold this DB first in our project, and then we are gonna add identity to this project. I've seen many solutions in on internet, and it includes generating table first from ASP.NET identity project, and then copying its script, create script table, and then manually copy paste, and I didn't find that helpful or feasible. So for that purpose, I'm making this video. So let's simply create a new DB and call it test identity. Okay, now let's simply create a new table and name it as user. I will make it ID, integer, primary key, and I'll set its identity specification to on, which means it's gonna increment itself every time any entry is made in this table. ID and name. To keep this simple, uh, I won't be adding much to this table. So here you go. Now I have this command here for db first. For that you need to open package manager console. You can open it via this mode as well, and then simply copy paste. My server name is Shazib and my database name is test identity. So simply I'm gonna paste it or type it, whatever suits you. Okay, so you can specify output directory as well, but for now I'm gonna create it in the main folder, so I don't need this. Okay, this term scaffold is not recognized. Obviously this won't work, and the reason for that is we need to include few packages, entity framework core. So let's add these one by one. I'm guessing this video will be long. Anyhow, let's focus on the thing we are trying to do. So you also need this package design, and I think you will also be needing SQL Server. Definitely you will be needing this. Okay, now we can try the same one again. Okay, still not picking it up. And okay. So first of all, I think we need to, I think it's not that I think, it's must. We need to mention here. So for that, simply I'm gonna copy some code. As I stated in the start of this video, I might be copying some code, and this is what I will copy. For that, you need to use control dot, and it will automatically let you know which packages or name references you need to add. So I think we need to add few more packages. Let's do that first. This one, I think this was the most crucial step that I missed. Anyhow, let's add this. Okay, let's try again. Okay, the thing which I mentioned earlier was that we need to add some code here. So what we are gonna do is simply copy the code. You can pause the video and see the code. As I deleted this, I need to add reference again. Obviously, this context would not be valid for my case, so I'm gonna change it. So where would you find this? It will be generated here. I don't know why it hasn't created a connection here. I think we need to manually add it. Okay, not an issue. You can copy that code too from app settings.json of my already created project. Simple copy and then paste. Okay, so I'm gonna keep the name as it is. Server name would be Shazib. Database would be test identity. So let's rename it. Okay, so far so good. Copy this name, paste it here. Sorry. This is our context. We need to add this here. Okay, Control Shift B to build up a project and see if we have any errors. So our build has succeeded. There are no errors. Now coming to our main question, how do we add identity in this project? So in .NET 2 and .NET Core 2 and above, I think this solution is you need to add new scaffolded item. And there you'll see identity. So you will add it like this. Now these are all the pages you're gonna get with identity. You can choose all if you want to. But in our case, we are gonna select few only. I will select login, logout, registration of course. Where it is, here it is. Okay, registration is done, login is done, logout is done. Uh, let's add this too. Okay, you can add these anytime by doing the same. So this is important. This will be the DB context for identity, and this is the model or a class which is going to be used in every page. These are razor pages and these are different. Uh, the concept which I found very different in ASP.NET Identity Core was that it does not use any controller. So you will see controller-less pages when we are gonna scaffold this item. Use SQLite instead of SQL Server. No, we will be using SQL Server, so I'm not gonna check this box. Add. After adding, you will see that what was I talking about. You will see that identity. You will see an area will be created, and inside that identity folder will be included. That inside that identity folder, you would not find any controller. You will only see view and a model related to that view. So here we go, areas, identity, pages. Now see, these are pages. For example, we have a login page and we have a login model. If you click on login model and press F12, you will see it will take us to login.cshtml.css. I don't know why my F12 is not working, so manually let's go here. So these are two things included. It does not have any controller. It has all the coding inside this login.cshtml.cs page. So this is where our login actually takes place, and if the password and emails are valid, then result is succeeded and user will be logged in. And the important thing which I wanted to show you was that I told you while creating this, while scaffolding this, that this will be the class. This will be our identity class, and anything we add here will go to our ASP.NET users table. And this is inheriting from identity user. So if we create any new field here, and we want to create any foreign key, or we want to add anything, all we need to do is we need to mention here those columns. I will be doing that later, but I'm telling you in advance that we will simply add these columns here, properties here, and then we will scaffold again db context, and these columns will be added to which table? ASP.NET users table. So for now, again, there is something I need to let you know. This is the code which we don't want, so you can remove it, but for sake of simplicity, I'm just gonna comment it out. Okay, this must not be giving any error after commenting it out. Let's see, we might be missing some brackets or something. Okay. Now you can see that when we scaffolded this item, it automatically included this connection string app settings.json. So we need to set it according to our project. You can see that I have commented out this string specifically, and the reason for that is that we don't need two separate databases. We need to merge the identity tables in our existing database. So I'm commenting it out. Now coming to the main code, I think which is very important is that you will see that gradually we will be adding many things. For example, you can see web application identity context. This is another project I made testing for this. The app setting, oh, startup class, where it is. We will be copying this my so this is we need to copy this identity setup db first context. Copy this or type this. Let's just simply copy it from here and paste it here. We'll be needing a reference or control dot using identity setup db first dot data. Please make sure that you add correct reference and do not generate or introduce a new service for this, because it will be causing issues later and it will be very hard for you to find the real issue. Okay, we'll change this to this. Okay, now this is important. After adding a connection, you will need to add this, and it will, of course, require references. Okay, so far so good. Now let's see that we have what we have got. Okay, one thing which I missed was it should have added model when we scaffolded. Okay, so here it's what it has done. I didn't mention any folder, so when I scaffolded this DB, it created a new class inside our solution. Now this shouldn't have been done because it's very confusing. We don't know that user is our model class which was generated from the DB. So it should have been inside models or in any some folder named like that. Anyhow, when you will create, as I told you, you can use output dash dir for specifying in which directory or folder you want to create your models. So let's try and add identity. First of all, we need to add a migration. Okay, so you will be getting this more than 1 dB context was found, specify which one to use. So obviously the question in your mind would be, why are we using migrations in DB first approach? Another reason for that is because we are using identity and identity tables cannot be directly added. So we need this migration part to include these tables in our existing DB. Let's try this again. Okay, as you can see, it has created initial migration, but what we need to do is now we simply need to update our database. Okay, again you need to mention the DB context. Okay, now let's see if whether we got this in our DB or not. As you can see here, we have got all the tables here. ASP.NET users, user. Now let's add a few more fields in our identity setup user class. Uh, let's add integer, account ID, so I need to add migration again. This is just for showing you that what will be how it will reflect in our DB. For now, if I open ASP.NET users table, you can see we don't have any column account ID named. But when we will create a migration, and update our database, it should, by the way, this shouldn't have happened. It should have included that. I'm pretty sure it would not show our newly added column, account ID, account ID, account ID. Okay, so there's no account ID folder, column, sorry. As you can see, it created an empty migration. And what made it? Okay, I have removed that migration. So what I'm planning on doing is that let's build the project first. Okay, now let's try to create the migration again. See, this is important. You need to remove migration history from DB as well, as after updating a database, the database changes and entity framework migration table gets populated there too. Okay, I think the issue was that we need to maybe scaffold this. No, that won't be required. Update database. add migration. So let's try this again. It's creating empty migration and I don't get it. What is the issue causing this? So this is not advised and should not be done, but let's remove our migrations completely. At the same time, we need to delete this too. Okay, now let's try and add our migration again, calling it initial. So you can see what it has done. It's going to create a new table. All the tables will be recreated. Okay, this was expected. Okay, so here we wanted to add a new column, and you can see for now, if we go in design mode ASP.NET users, we don't have any column name account ID. Now we simply need to run after adding a new column account ID. Make sure if your database has any record, make it nullable, otherwise it will be giving error. My DB is entry, but to be on safe side, I'm making it nullable for now. Now, in which DB context we want to update this? Of course, we want to update the identity setup DB first context. So let's create a migration first. Okay, we already have a migration from that. For that name, we gonna rename it. As you can see, it successfully created migration. We can see it's gonna add this account ID column with type int and nullable property to true. Now simply update the database and make sure you use the same DB context. Okay, done. Now please make sure you close the ASP.NET user table first. Otherwise, if you're gonna click on design, it won't show the change. You can see we have a new property account ID. So now I've shown you how will you add new property, new column in your identity table. Similarly, if you are going to add any foreign key column, for example, you want to use user ID here as a foreign key, then you can do that from design view of SQL. or by SQL script, and then you can rerun scaffold generation command, which I showed you in the start of this video. So what's left is we need to properly configure this in startup class so we can start using identity. First of all, let me show you. If I add in home controller authorize attribute, we will be needing to add reference. Let's do that. And I'm pretty sure that it will give an exception at runtime. Let's see. Okay, it didn't give any exception, but as you can see, this is what we get. No web page was found. So I'm gonna add record references one by one, copying from here. As you can see, first of all, we need to add app.use authentication and authorization. It already has app.use authorization, but it does not have authentication. So the thing which caused me a lot of issue in tracing this and making it work is that this specific map browser pages was required for identity to work. And if you are missing it, you'll see the same window or same message that we previously saw when we built this project. I hope you are getting what I'm trying to say here. You can see that if we remove this specific line endpoints.map pages, identity stops working. So let's create a new user. As you can see, our identity has started working. Now if we log in again, what I'm trying to show is that if we try to access privacy page or home page, it's gonna redirect us to login page because these pages are inside home controller and home controller is protected by authorize attribute. So if user is not logged in, it will redirect it to login page. Now if we log in, then we can simply navigate between home and privacy, which are in home controller. I hope this video was useful, and I can see that uh, this video has gone too long. I didn't expect this to get this long. Anyhow, I hope I have resolved your issues regarding this. Right? This specific line of code was causing me a lot of issues, and it was not mentioned anywhere that this is must for identity in ASP.NET Core to work. Because if we are going to use scaffolded identity in ASP.NET Core, then we need to add map razor pages must. Otherwise, this won't work at all. So thank you so much. If you have any questions or any issues, any errors, please mention them in comments. I'll try my best to answer them as soon as possible. So see you later. Take care. Bye.